We've been talking for a long time about how technology is going to level the playing field. It's going to tilt the scale. Challenger brands will have a chance at the top. Hasn't really happened. If we look at the top 5 spots of each industry, they've been pretty much the same for the last 10 years. So AI actually does come as a different type of technology. It does actually raise the floor. It does actually give smaller teams a lot more capabilities, generalist roles, a lot more skill set, right? Or a lot more capability to operate in channels that they didn't used to operate before. So for me and for my co-founder, this was an opportunity to build something that's tailor-made for challenger brands that will help them actually compete with the top players in their industry with a fraction of the resource. So that's where the idea for DOJO was born.
All right, let me paint a scenario for you. You've just finished school. You've done your courses in becoming a marketer. You are fully motivated to get this work done. Here's the issue, though. You get to your first job. You start doing campaigns. You build out your first audience. You build out your first email. A week later, you need to do it again and again and again. The work gets so repetitive that it drains the motivation out of you. DOJO AI wants to change that. And today I've got 2 people from DOJO AI to tell me the full story. It's Duarte and Luke, and they're going to tell me how their product actually returns the marketers into the original position that they were in to be creative, to think strategic about the work that they're doing. Welcome to Couch Confidentials. Let's get started. Duarte, Luke, thank you for joining. Like I said, things are changing for marketeers rapidly, and DOJO AI wants to make a difference. Let's start with a quick introduction about you guys before we get into the details, because I've been waiting for this for a few months now, and I'm super curious to see the product. But let's start with the basics. Who are you guys? What is DOJO AI, and what are you guys going to solve?
Sounds good. Thanks, Matthew. Thanks for having us. So I'm going to do a very brief intro of myself. I'm the co-founder of DOJO AI. Before that, I was a marketer for nearly 2 decades and spent most of my career in big companies, big brands, Coca-Cola, Sky. Then eventually decided to pivot, started working more with what I call challenger brands. So medium-sized enterprises, startups, scale-ups, helping them as a growth and marketing consultant. And I work with dozens of different companies, and I saw a kind of a common trend amongst all of these companies, which was marketing didn't really seem to work the way it was expected to. So I saw very small teams having to do a lot, having to deliver on just as many channels, just as many campaigns, just as many tactics as the teams that I used to work with at Coca-Cola and Sky, and with a fraction of the resources, no specialized in-house roles, and no money for agencies and consultancies. So there was just something fundamentally broken about the expectation that was put on these teams. And I looked at Martech to help, right? I looked at Martech as a possible solution to complement these small teams' lack of specialized roles or lack of resources or lack of time. And they seem to do the opposite. The more technology they brought in, the worse. Because each piece of technology that came in was a point solution and sucked the team into its own intricate workflows, its own dashboard, its own way of viewing the world. And very rarely did it speak to any of the other tools around them. So for the teams, they were an extra load. And I just thought, okay, there's something not right. This will never work, right? If this continues like this, the top companies will always be the top companies, especially when it comes to growing through marketing.
Yeah.
I saw AI as, and we've been talking for a long time about how technology is going to level the playing field. It's going to tilt the scale. Challenger brands will have a chance at the top. Hasn't really happened. If we look at the top 5 spots of each industry, they've been pretty much the same for the last 10 years. So AI actually does come as a different type of technology. It does actually raise the floor. It does actually give smaller teams a lot more capabilities, generalist roles, a lot more skill set, right? Or a lot more capability to operate in channels that they didn't used to operate before. So for me and for my co-founder, this was an opportunity to build something that's tailor-made for challenger brands that will help them actually compete with the top players in their industry with a fraction of the resource. So that's where the idea for Dojo was born.
No, absolutely, and we're seeing real examples of that. At least in my LinkedIn feed and on YouTube, I'm seeing examples of full on advertisement campaigns with video, with audio, lip synced, people in the video, and then they show what they paid for it, and like now it's within the grasp of everyone to create high quality advertising campaigns, not just the content, but now I think the next step is also to make sure that we leverage that AI to do the strategic part as well.
That's correct. And there's always this fear when we talk about leveraging AI to produce content. There's always this fear. Oh, you mean AI generated slop? And which there's a lot of.
There's a lot of, yeah.
That's actually not how AI should be used. And the companies that are using AI to just pump out more content, that's kind of a zero-sum game. It's a race to the bottom. But what is the real competitive advantage now is, what about using AI to make sense of all of your marketing data? What about using AI to simplify your integrated comprehension of how your channels perform, how your campaigns perform, how your content performs, what your audience wants, what the market wants? Now, that's a true competitive advantage, because instead of doing more just for the sake of it, it'll actually be more strategic, it will be more targeted, it will be more personalized, and it will be simplified. Marketing technology has overcomplicated the function for such a long time. Mm-hmm. Now it's time for a technology that makes everything simpler, everything easier, and everything better. Yeah. And I think that's the real opportunity here.
And before we go on to your co-host here to learn a little bit more about use cases around Dojo AI, I just want to kind of give you one question. So when we talk about this, the leveraging of AI, and I think this question is being raised more and more often, and purposefully so, is data quality. A lot of companies have said you can start doing wonders with Gen AI, and also on the analytics side, have it do the analysis of your data sets, come up with hidden gems found within your data. But to what extent do you feel that companies are ready in terms of data cleanliness? And I know for the analysis part, it's going to be crucial, as well as the customer data part. How do you feel that, what's the view of that at Dojo AI?
I believe that we've created this narrative in which AI is only as good as the data that you have in your own company, right? Or the way you clean it, or the way you structure it, or the way you organize it. The reality is that AI can do that for you as well. AI can clean your data, it can structure it, it can organize it. Yeah. So it's less a question. Obviously, if we're talking about layering ChatGPT on top of your messy data, that's not going to do wonders, right? But we are moving from this sort of experimental stage where companies are just leveraging off-the-shelf LLMs and doing custom GPTs or whatever it is, gimmickly DIY in-house, to being actually leveraging specialized tools that organize things for you, that clean data for you, that make sure that you don't have to do loads of homework before you bring AI in. Yeah, that's the optimum state of AI, is you don't have to prepare your company for it. You can plug and play, and that's possible. And that's what Dojo does, by the way.
Well, let's dive a little bit deeper. Luke, welcome as well. Do you want to give a quick introduction to yourself so we know what your position is within Dojo AI?
Yeah, sure. So I'm Luke. I joined the company this month as the founding growth sensei. For the last 5 years, I've been a consultant for teams in pre-seed up to private equity companies. And before that, I worked for 5 years in different startups in Berlin and London. And basically, I started using Dojo myself as a user about 6 months ago. I decided to angel invest in the company, and then I joined the company, the normal hiring process that everyone goes through, right? And I joined and started using it because, as Duarte said, this problem is really frustrating of wanting to support early stage companies, wanting to build strategies for them, build these concepts for them. Yeah. You hand them over to these teams, and the team has one person, the team has 2 people, and they want to do 12 channels, and they want to do these amazing brand campaigns, and they want to do this community building and they want to do all of these different things, and they didn't have the capacity because they needed so much time, they needed so much support. Then they end up bringing in an agency. The agency doesn't really do exactly what they wanted. It doesn't really understand it in the same way that they do. And that really pissed me off, to be honest, because I came up with these crazy ideas for companies and they would never do them but I need to spend a lot more time on Meta. I need to spend more time on Google. And I'm like, but like you could create this, and you could create like a TV show, and you could create this guerrilla campaign, and you could create this like really cool loyalty program, and you could create this. And they're like, I don't really have time for that. I don't want to pay 50,000 a month to a huge consultancy to build that for me. And so this is kind of where I come into the picture with Duarte. I think I'm the crazy person in the equation, where he's basically like, hey, we want to talk to this company. What would you use Dojo for if you were running all of their marketing? And I basically just go crazy for 30 minutes, come up with 17 different strategies, and then get Dojo to build them out into something comprehensive that they could actually tackle.
Yeah.
And then when I do a demo for a company, that's basically what I do is like, I would do this with it. And here's a live version of me doing that. Like, you could do exactly what I did in 30 minutes if you wanted to. And normally that's all it takes, because people get it straight away.
Yeah.
It's not one of these super complicated tools.
Let me pick your brain for a second here. And Duarte, if you don't mind, because Luke is just fresh off the press. He is, two things that I find interesting is that you're an actual user who converted, invested in where you work now. And I have to say, it's fascinating. But from your experience, the companies that you have worked with, maybe as as part of the consultancy that you spoke with, and this is based off of experience that I am, and it's kind of more of a verification. You have all these motivated teams, and they want to do so much. Agencies, and I've been told to watch my words a little bit, because not all agencies are equal. There are some really good ones out there, but
Sure.
A lot of them bring their own agenda to these companies if they don't have the in-house skills to do things. And that agenda is based off of the skills that they have in-house. If they've only been working, let's say if we want to work with brands, if they've been working with Anthropic, they'll focus on Anthropic. If they've been working with OpenAI to do magic with AI, they'll focus on that. So that kind of forces this client down into a funnel. What's your experience being so far about, in my view, still a lot of junior organizations with junior people, but with a lot of motivation? Because if you look at the adoption rate of AI, it's overwhelming. Even my mother is sending me, hey, look what I found, what AI found about you on Grok of all places. But she's sending it over. Everyone is talking about AI. Is this what you see as a main driver in a lot of these companies, that they feel beholden to reach for the stars, to go for the moon all of a sudden with this new technology, but they just don't know how?
Yeah, I think for a lot of people, it's quite overwhelming. There's a huge pressure to be using AI. I mean, you've probably seen a few of the cartoons on LinkedIn of like, what do we want? AI. When do we want it? Now. What are we going to use it for? I don't know. That's not important. Like,
we'll
it's
ask
very
AI.
much. Yeah, exactly. I saw it with so many companies where they're like, we just want to start using it. And I'm like, cool. What's your use case? Like, what's your goal?
Yeah.
What do you want to solve? And they're like, oh, I'm not really sure. Like, can't I just use AI and then everything will get better? And normally that leads to like, okay, you now have 15 AI tools. And now you're in the same position as you were before, where it's like, okay, I need to do this in this tool, and then I need to go to that tool, and then I need to go to that tool. And then once I've done those things, I can put it into my marketing. And it's like, okay, you're still stuck in this analysis paralysis, tool paralysis phase. And so I think what we basically wanted to do is get it to be as simple as possible. Like, keep it simple, stupid, right?
Yeah, it comes back to what Duarte said. It just distracts people from being creative and strategic, because you're constantly trying to fix those pipelines between your solutions. You're constantly trying to figure out why certain data is not being captured or passed through, and it distracts you from being productive, ironically enough. But yeah, I mean, Duarte, you put up this slide. Do we want to jump into that real quickly?
Let's do it. Let's jump into the slide. There's a bit of context here, obviously, but then it moves on to the product itself. So this is a statement, a true statement. This is a It comes from Gartner, and it just says that, over 50% of marketers will use AI agents by 2026. So it's kind of, it just shows that it's not only coming, but it's coming quickly, right?
Yeah.
So if you're not already preparing this, you're already behind. And another couple of interesting stats is, where do we currently spend our time as marketers? And most of the people will say, I spend the majority of my time using all, 26 of my marketing tools, looking at ad managers, CRM, CDPs, channels, whatever.
Yeah.
Then trying to glue pieces of data together and maybe feeding it into ChatGPT or Claude. And then maybe at the end of the day, there's some time to come up with new creatives and campaigns. And that's the issue that Luke was talking about, and that is very true. So we've identified three main crises of modern marketing, right? One is speed, the other one's complexity, and the last one is budget. These are the three constraints that most companies and most marketing teams face today. Complexity, very simple, right? We used to have very little channels, now we have loads of them. We used to have a few data sources, now we have 50 plus. We used to look at optimizing campaigns weekly, now we need to optimize them in real time. And then there's obviously the budget issue. We spend millions of dollars annually on bad data. The average spend per year on Martech tools by a mid-sized company is around 60K.
I was just about to say, this feels like enough for one company. What they're wasting yearly just for one company.
Exactly. And then what marketing used to look like. Most marketers spent most of their time measuring campaigns, content, and channels. 50% of businesses spent at least 3 hours on average writing a blog post. Only 60% of businesses spend less than 5 hours per week on content creation. But with AI, you have the vast majority of teams reporting AI helps them execute faster on all of analytics tasks. Almost half of businesses have reduced content creation time to 5 hours per week with AI. And teams report 75% faster speed to market with AI automation.
Yeah.
So what if you could have all of your marketing channels in real time, know where you're wasting your budget, know what creative works best, understand how you can increase your ROI? What if you never again had to look at another GA4 or social media dashboard and have an always-on integrated view of how your content and campaigns are performing? What if you could leverage a team of AI agents, not just to analyze your data, but actually give you the ability to act on it? So this is DOJO, essentially. It's an AI marketing agent team working 24/7 for you on top of a data engine connected to all of your marketing channels. So one single unified intelligent system that understands your brand, understands your channels, understands your content, understands your market, understands your customers, giving you enterprise-grade insights without the cost or complexity that comes with an enterprise tech stack.
Yeah. So for those, following along and are still trying to kind of paint a picture of what DOJO AI is, and let me see if I can word the image that I have, is that you basically connect to all the marketing technology tools and are able to query, to get data, but also to push actions into these tools. Does that kind of paint a picture of what DOJO AI could be doing?
In part, yes. So think of it like that. Think of it as an intelligent system that has first-party API connections to your Google Analytics 4, your Search Console, your Google Ads, your social media, your paid channels, and it's pulling all of this data in real time. At the same time, it's connected to its own data sources that have data for SEO, data for AI search, AEO, GEO, whatever you want to call it. And at the same time, it's measuring things like brand awareness, positioning, market trends, voice of customer, brand equity. So things that are usually done by agencies, every quarter or every year, even point in time. Now imagine you have a system that pulls all of this data and builds a knowledge graph of your brand and a digital twin of your whole marketing operation. And you can query it to understand what's happening. You can ask it for advice on strategy. You can ask it for new campaigns, and you can ask it for content. And it will give you all of that. So it will actually walk with you from gathering data, uncovering insights, delivering strategy, creating campaigns, publishing content, measuring it at scale. This is essentially what we're building at DOJO. So what you have today is a team of agents, and 4 of them operate together as a team. And this is very important because right now, when we talk about agents, it's a very noisy space, and there's very little clarity over what an agent actually is. Most of the times you hear people on LinkedIn talk about marketing agents. What they're actually talking about are deterministic workflows that they set up using various different tools. Real agents are different. Real agents are autonomous.
Yeah.
So our agents, they different skill sets, they operate within different data sets, but they cooperate with each other as a team autonomously. That means they exchange information, they cross-check information, and they are orchestrated by a central co-pilot that we call the sensei. So the sensei actually distributes work, almost like manages the team of agents. And you manage the sensei. So you as a marketer have this team or this almost full stack marketing agency that understands your brand in depth, understands your product, understands your channels, your ROAS, your campaigns, your customers, and you can send the agents off to do different things for you. So the
initial impression is like too good to be true. It can do this, and I know we're going to get into a kind of a hands-on demo here, but I mean, wow. It's I'm very keen to get into the actually seeing this. It sounds amazing.
I'm glad to hear you say that. So we're very early. Okay, we went into market with a prototype in January. Since then, we've scaled a lot. We're working with close to 50 companies, most of them in the US and the UK, some of them in Europe as well. And, there's a few examples here. Happy customers, if you go into our website, you'll see guest blog posts and case studies that we do with various different marketing leaders in some of these companies.
And are you starting to notice that marketers are becoming creative again? Because there's also this other sense that maybe some fear mongering that AI will replace humans, but in this case, you're shifting that technical kind of the repetitive work back to the sensei to free up the marketer to do, as we said in the beginning, creative and strategic work. Are you actually seeing that now?
I think this will come in waves. Okay, I think right now, if I'm being completely honest, I don't think we're at the stage where marketers have fully understood or have kind of the mental space to tend to creativity yet. I think that time will come. What we are seeing though is marketers becoming more like every single marketing member is a manager. So they're thinking more strategically, they're thinking more integrated, and they're utilizing DOJO. I'm talking about our customers particularly. They're utilizing DOJO to do the operational stuff. So they don't have to go and dive deep into the dashboards and the Excel sheets, glue pieces of data together, and then spend most of their time figuring out what the data actually means.
Yeah.
They use DOJO for that. So they're acting more as almost like a command center, leveraging the agents to do the menial job for them, but actually give them the insights that they need to be more strategic. So that we're already seeing. I think the next stage will be, okay, not only can we be more strategic, but we can also be more creative. And that's one thing that I can see. And Luke for me was a very obvious case of this is exactly how a marketer, how the future marketer will be. Luke was a power user. He utilized DOJO to give him everything that he needed to come up with really creative, out of the box, very strategic ideas. And I think that's what every marketer will realize it can do in the future. But I'm going to pass on to Luke now to talk about this use case.
That's a master class in dangling the carrot in front of me. Over to you, Luke.
All right. So as I mentioned, Duarte definitely told me that we were going to do this at least 20 minutes before. But thankfully, I'd already been preparing an example that we could use. Lucky Sane are not a customer. Okay. In fact, they have no idea that we've made this. So I hope one of them will be one of your listeners, Matthew. But basically, we were looking at a conference that we're going to do, and we were thinking about, okay, how could we demonstrate with a company that people the events will be in the UK. How could we demonstrate we're the brand that people might know? And obviously, you're based in the US, right?
In Netherlands.
In the Netherlands. Okay, perfect. So basically, we wanted to go from the highest point to the lowest point or the most granular point with Lucky Saint. So we started with what does the overall market situation look like? Let's understand for the UK market, the full non-alcoholic drink space. So we looked at your, I guess, local brand Heineken. We looked at Guinness as being these huge behemoths in the UK market. They own like 50 million, 60 million between them. Lucky Saint coming in with 3% of the UK beer market and already being the number 5 non-alcoholic drink. And we looked at what are the other brands doing, and we wanted to understand where are the kind of opportunities for them to grow that market. So what we did is we went straight on to what are their customers saying. So we looked at social listening. So we have a social listening tool that's able to look through Reddit, look through LinkedIn, and look for discussions to be the voice of the customer.
So this is not manual work that, I mean, these are screenshots. No. This is from within DOJO AI, the social listening?
Yes.
Or are you okay?
Yeah. Exactly. So literally, and Duarte can potentially show afterwards what it looks like in this thread, but essentially what we're doing here is literally just saying, hey, tell us what people are saying about themes that could be related to Lucky Saint. And these are some of the posts that it brought back. These are real posts. You get a URL link. It tells you a little bit about the post. It tells you a little bit about the engagement. It recommends these are places where you guys could be joining the conversation. And one of the topics that came up again and again, and I'm not going to lie, was a new thing for me, was this concept of zebra striping. So this is kind of an approach that people use when they want to cut down on their alcohol and basically looking at drinking maybe only on certain days, only at weekends, on every other day. And it's normally associated with what are the replacements. So how can I replace one of the alcoholic drinks with a non-alcoholic drink during a night out? Or how can
I need to do that with my caffeinated and decaffeinated coffee, to be honest.
Exactly. And this idea of zebra striping is a really nice, very visual kind of thing for that, of like black, white, black, white, black, white, black, white. And it's something that we wanted to deep dive into. So I've gone really deep into this topic and looked at how they can approach it. So first we went into the analytics. So these are real numbers. So in the last 30 days, been almost 3,000 posts on social media around the topic of zebra striping. People talking about how they're doing it personally. People asking about like how other people are approaching it. People talking about which drinks they use for it. And this is an 160% growth over the previous month. So it's something that's really trending at the moment. It's something that obviously trends a lot during the summer. People are looking to be healthier. And it's something that we also see associated with very positive sentiment. So you get provided a sentiment analysis looking at how people are talking about it, and then it assesses the trends. We see that the negative sentiment is very low, only around 9%. And we're seeing it being associated especially with Gen Z adoption. And we're seeing that being the highest group, around 10 points absolute higher than the millennial group. And seeing that that's associated with Instagram and TikTok especially. And what we wanted to do is for Lucky Saint, look at which are the topics that they could be getting into, zebra striping obviously being one of them. And these are a word cloud of the keywords that they could be looking to get into. But we're actually seeing that if you compare Lucky Saint against their competitor in the US, an aspirational brand, which is the Athletic Brewing Company, they only have around 3,000 keywords that they're ranking for in the UK, whereas Athletic Brewing Company has almost 80,000. So you can understand the difference in the level of SEO that they're really being able to attract for. And that's also something that we see reflected in the LLMs. So this is a screenshot that I've got from ChatGPT. Just did a chat yesterday to see what would come up. And I did a prompt that I was pretty sure was going to lead to Lucky Saint, because it's one of the ones that we saw in the analytics, the AEO analytics that we have. And so obviously Lucky Saint is coming up top there. But there are a lot of prompts and queries where they weren't showing up at all. People looking for the best non-alcoholic drinks, drinks for a party, drinks during pregnancy. All of these terms where actually they would want to show for it, and they were having absolutely zero showing there. And Heineken and Guinness, or even non-alcoholic soft drinks, were winning in that fight. So what I wanted to show is the how as well. So I showed you a little bit around how we use social listening to find conversations. And obviously getting into those conversations on Reddit is an absolutely key way to increase your LLM ranking. So, Reddit is a really important source for that. But also creating these longer form geo or AEO optimized articles, such as this one that I mocked up yesterday, is a really strong way to get them into that conversation. This is actually something that Dojo is able to do. So if you have keyword gaps or opportunities that you want to get into, you can actually ask Dojo, okay, how should I create content that's authentic in my brand voice that I can get into this? And obviously go the extra mile as well. So it'll write you a full SEO optimized article, but it'll also suggest what type of journalists you might want to pitch that article to. It can write a PR briefing based on that article that you can send out to them as well. And then I thought, I haven't gone far enough. Let's go for a full campaign. So Lucky Saint has a pretty iconic blue and white can in the UK. I don't know if you've ever seen it before.
I'll
the
look out
only
for it
thing
next time. Yeah.
You could probably get it in a Albert Heijn in the Netherlands, to be honest. But the only thing more iconic than their blue and white can would be a blue and white can with a zebra print. So I thought this would be a really nice way for them to be able to tap into the zebra striping conversation. And even if it's not an article about Lucky Saint, it's a very iconic photograph. You can actually see in the background, this is Primrose Hill in London. It's a very iconic cityscape of London that people would know if you see the zoomed out version. And so this is something that even if people weren't intentionally talking about the brand, the visual might get used a lot in articles because it's just very punchy for this type of thing. And obviously they could also use for social media as well. I went into about 15 other things afterwards because I got carried away, as I always do. I planned out a full sponsorship plan for them to sponsor a paddle team, for them to do ambush marketing for the London Marathon. And you can see this as Duarte scrolls.
Let me pause you there for just a quick second. All right. All the way
Please.
up to the photo that is AI generated. Let's say, paint a picture for me. If I was doing this without something like Dojo AI, I feel like I'm taking over the sales role for you guys, but it's not intentional. I really want to kind of have a good sense of what I'm seeing here. Without using something like Dojo AI, how much time and resources and potentially even money would I have to have put into the projects so far to get to the point where you were able to dig up those insights, do the checking on Reddit, come up with the concept around zebra striping, do the imaging, etc., compared to using Dojo? Can you paint a little picture around that?
Yeah, and jump in if you want at any time for this, Duarte. But basically, the way that we look at it is, if you compare this to what you would pay for an agency. So if you think about paying a brand agency, you're probably talking about 30 to 50K a month at least to a brand agency to create a campaign plan for you for the zebra striping concept that I came up with.
Yeah.
You're talking about that again to go through the sponsorship strategy and come up with partnerships and things like this. And then you're thinking about the analytics that you would need. So you're thinking about, okay, I would need to pay a marketing analyst to do all of this. I would need to pay them a decent salary for the UK. So we're talking like 60K a year for that marketing analyst specifically just to do this. This is someone who's going to be doing it full time. You could ask it anything at any time, and it can give you a full agency style report, complete with graphs, complete with all of those kind of breakdowns so that you can then throw it into a presentation. When I did all of this, I asked it, okay, we're going to show it to Matthew. What's the best way to visualize this? And it suggested, hey, maybe you want to show the keywords as a word cloud. Maybe you want to show the analytics as a dashboard. Maybe you want to represent this with a screenshot from ChatGPT. Maybe you want to actually create that article on Substack and show that as an image. So I think this is the difference, is not just what would you pay for the individual pieces, but you're essentially paying for someone who puts it all together.
Yeah. Oh, that too. I mean, even if you think you might need 3 months to get to the stage where you are now with generating that image, let's say somebody created a mock-up for that, went to Primrose Hill, took a photo, edited, et cetera. So once you reach that point, it might be 3 months, and then you're easily talking over $100,000 dollars or pounds, or whichever one's right for you. We're at least talking six figures before you've even reached that point. That's interesting because I think, but to come back to what you just said, it's It's one thing to work with an agency. It's one thing to have your own marketing analyst. But I think and this is what I've seen with AI personally, and I like that you guys have kind of integrated that into your solution, is that you have them communicating with each other.
Yeah, exactly. And this is the thing is when I was previously deciding to start using the tool, I was obviously doing things the way everyone is at the moment. So I'm going onto Claude when I want to write an article. I'm going onto ChatGPT when I want to analyze some data. I'm going onto all of these different tools for different things. And it never really understood the company. So I was working in a consultancy. I was working with 10, 15 different clients. And I wanted to write something that was a very different style from one conversation to the next.
Yeah.
So I'm doing it for a defense tech. Like, okay, you need to really understand the company in minute detail. And if you say anything remotely wrong, you're going to be presenting this to some of the scariest people who used to kill people for a living. You don't want to say something incorrect in that type of presentation. You don't want to be making like that type of mistake. Obviously not because they're going to kill you, but just because they have very exacting expectations. And then if you compare that to, an ed tech or compare that to an e-commerce, like these are very different styles. Yeah. And I think the thing that's really powerful when I'm now on this side and I can go into a client's account and I can look through like how it would approach it with all of the integrated data, with what they've been saying on organic social, with what they've been saying in their paid ads, with what they've been saying on their LinkedIn, with the articles they've been releasing, with the keyword information on how they're ranking. Like it goes into every decision that it makes for you. And I mean decision intentionally. Every decision that it makes for you with that context. So ChatGPT tends to say, you're fantastic. This is the best idea ever. Dojo will say, that's stupid. This is what you should do instead. And it has said things in that kind of language. Duarte will kill me if I give the example, but it tends to be very brutally honest, as though it were like a very seasoned CMO working in your company.
Yeah. Well, two questions there. One is around, you mentioned, different tones of voice, motivations behind generating certain content. The context can differ between who you're talking to, what kind of company. And I know that that's a pretty big issue with things like ChatGPT, just because of the context window of a single thread, but also the memory within the app, that it always relies on previous discussions. So one time I asked ChatGPT myself, hey, what do you know about me? And it was telling me that I loved marketing technology. I've been working with CDPs for many years. I also do a lot of porcelain and clay work, and I love learning about arts for a new future career in teaching children. And I was like, all right, yeah. ChatGPT doesn't know that I'm sharing the account with my wife, but it's that difference that can make or break a good use of. I'm interested. You guys split that up by workspace or by? I mean, it's something that you've already considered by what Luke has been talking about.
Yeah. So I'll give you a bit. I mean, I've been showing while Luke was talking, I was showing basically the thread that Luke actually used. This is a bit of like a look behind the scenes. The thread that Luke actually used to build the Lucky Saint use case. And by the way, he did it in half an hour, an hour. And this is an account that we have no direct API connections with. Okay. So this was all based on our own SEO data, our own AEO or AI search data, plus the capability of our brand research agent to crawl the open web on anything related to Lucky Saint.
What a conversation started, though. Coming into a company like, I mean,
I know, right?
I used to do that with checks on their tagging on their website and build an automated report, say, hey, I found some gaps in here. Let's talk. But this is... Oh, gee. Okay.
Because with this, you get the social listening bit, you get and not just sentiment, right? It's not like it analyzes natural language in communities, forums, subreddits, review sites, right? It scrapes, I don't know how many reviews you might have, thousands. And it doesn't just go like, okay, positive, negative, neutral, detractors, whatever. No, it's like it goes in and understands complex human feelings and emotions from the natural language. So it can give you really, really in-depth reports. So I'm going to give you one example of a fake company, obviously. So basically what I was saying was what you have here is the sensei that you can choose has that sort of orchestrator that has access to all of the agents, right? It distributes the work. And if you click on it, you You have suggestions of things you can ask it to do, things like I want to optimize my marketing mix, check the health of my brand, map my customer journey, give me a weekly performance summary. You'll have other suggestions as well.
Yeah.
You also have a quick fire mode in which you can get more conversational, or the normal mode where it goes really in depth. And what I mean by really in depth is I'm going to click here on a specific example in which I ask for an agency grade report on brand equity to go and look at this brand's overall health by analyzing over 3,000 reviews.
Yeah. And this is an example of where data is connected. You have access to the data.
That's correct. But in this case, it did go into public reviews, scraped over 3,000 of them, and understood from it overall rating, a proxy for NPS, a measure of customer satisfaction, benchmark it against industry average, and it went to places like Trustpilot, iOS App Store, Google Play, gives you rating distribution analysis, net promoter score. So it identifies from the natural language of the reviews who are the detractors, the passives, the promoters, right? It gives you then strategic branding insights, so things that you can actually do based on the quality and content of those reviews. So this is an example of what it can do in terms of public accessible data. But then, if you go into the first-party connections, right? I'm going to give here an example. I just asked for a comprehensive agency-grade in-depth report into my website performance. So it accesses all of your website data. It pulls in, gives you insights, analyzes traffic, analyzes sessions, analyzes content, analyzes audience. It goes on and on. It just gives you everything that you need to know about what's happening on your website, who's visiting it, etc. This is the first-party connection side of things. Then you can move into analyzing your paid media. In this case, I just asked, analyze which conversion events drive real business value. And it went through, and you can see how it thinks. On the background, you'll see it pulling the different agents, going into Google Ads, getting data from it, then going into Meta Ads, getting data from it, then calling a coding agent to basically code through all of your data. And this is important because it actually, because we have a coding agent that analyzes your data, DOJO doesn't take into consideration the platform's own advice on what you should do with your budget, right? What you should do with your campaigns, because the platforms will tell you 9 times out of 10 to increase campaign budget. DOJO will actually protect you against it and tell you whether you're overspending, right? And the same thing if you want to analyze ROAS. Whatever it is that you want to ask it in terms of how your marketing is performing, it can help you do that. So this is the kind of a brief overview of what DOJO can do. It can analyze things like customer journeys, funnels, tells you what you need to fix. And then it goes from this into what do I need to do today? What do I need to create? What are the campaigns? What is the content? And how do I measure whether it's working and what isn't?
This is
that's it.
Tell me, I mean, now I understand your previous comment about when I asked about, what's the adoption? How are marketers approaching this who are using DOJO? And I now understand when you say they're kind of taking it one step at a time, because when I look at that, it's overwhelming. Absolutely. It's fantastic, but it's overwhelming. And I can imagine that marketers, sure, when they start using it, some creativity will bubble up. They'll know what questions to ask. But I think the next level will take some time before these marketers reach a certain kind of maturity in working with AI and with a solution like this to fully understand to what degree they can leverage it. What's DOJO AI's view on helping grow that maturity maybe in a more efficient way, or is it more guided?
So it's actually about the tool that we're building, because right now, as I said, we're very early. This is a beta product. And right now it's a very intelligent, very powerful system, but it's a reactive system.
Yeah.
What that means is that the marketer needs to log in, start asking questions. It needs to push the system to deliver, right? This will change. What we're building is a proactive system. It's a system that once you log in every day, it will tell you, because it already has all of the context. It already has all of the data. And it will have an always-on view of what's working and what isn't and what needs to be done. So once you log in, it will tell you, hey, you've got a problem today with your bounce rate. Hey, your Facebook's performing really well today.
So,
And it will identify threats, opportunities, strengths, weaknesses, like a modern day SWOT analysis. And
yeah, yeah,
it will tell you, okay, click on this and now let the co-pilot and the agents help you through it. And you can deploy the agents to go investigate in more depth, or you can ask the co-pilot to advise you on what to do, how to solve that issue. And then you can tell it, okay, now I've understood the problem. I know where the data comes from. Now, tell me what campaigns I need to put together. Tell me what the content should be, what the messaging should be, what the visuals
yeah.
should be. And now execute. Okay, go deploy, put that campaign live, measure it, optimize it mid-flight, and report to me every day on how it's doing and whether we need to act on it or not. And this is the marketing operating system that we're building.
Again, two questions pop up. One is, when we looked at the example you just gave, what kind of ramp up are you looking at to actually get to this stage in terms of implementation, integrating all these different sources? And I'll come back to the second question in a bit here. 5 years, 5 days?
Integration is 5 minutes.
5 minutes. So if I was to connect to Meta, Facebook.
Oh, that's a 5-minute call.
What about the preparation? And do you assist companies in trying to determine what to connect? Or is it throw everything in there, we'll have AI sorted out?
That's exactly right. So all you need to do is give us access to Google Search Console, Google Analytics for social and paid channels.
Yeah.
And again, that's a seamless 5-minute call. We'll connect everything. The next 10 minutes, you get pulled into a Slack group with us. You get sent a welcome email with a login and a password. The next 10 minutes, you start using the tool. The next 10 minutes, you start seeing results. So this is...
We'll have to set up another call to actually test that, right?
Let's do it.
With a timer on the screen. That's pretty amazing. But so the kind of the last question I have, and this is something that's definitely come up when working with AI, and especially now that you mentioned that you're working towards this proactive agent that actually starts taking the next step. What about guardrails? If they act proactive to push a campaign live, is there going to be something in place that says, hey, we're not seeing the expected results in real time or hourly minute updates? We're going to revert back. What kind of safety mechanisms are you guys thinking of?
So it needs to be human in the loop, right? We're not building a tool to replace your whole marketing team and just to operate autonomously in this dystopian society.
A lot of marketers going like this now,
Yeah, exactly. So it's not about agents having free reign to manage your marketing channels. That's not what it is. It's about agents being able to launch and measure and advise you in real time on what needs to be done. You are in control.
Yeah.
You as the marketer will receive the information in real time and will have the capability to distribute work within the tool, right? And say,
your virtual colleagues, yeah.
Say, very cool, we need to solve that, or actually, yeah, this is a great opportunity. Okay, go execute this, report back on me on the results. And this is the type of what the kids these days are calling vibe marketing, and which is slightly annoying, but it's this real-time, reactive at scale marketing that we'll see in the future. Truly integrated, truly intelligent, truly always on. Things that we've been talking about for ages, but have never actually been true.
So I lied. You just gave me another question. I thought that was the last question. But the big question I have now is, who, in your opinion, you don't have to answer because I know it might be related to sales. Who, in your opinion, is going to benefit the most from this? Is it enterprise, medium-sized businesses, or small businesses? My initial thought is small and medium, because this will be able to help them kick their campaigns, everything, all their work into overdrive, and be able to potentially become a serious threat for enterprise companies.
It comes in waves. It will come in waves.
Okay.
The first, again, the same analogy, sorry, but the reality is that right now, it's definitely a tool that raises the floor.
Yeah.
Which means that small companies with smaller budgets, with smaller teams, have the upper hand, or can get most out of this.
Yeah.
Big companies, very big companies, they're slow to adopt anyway. We're not really wasting time right now going after Disney or Coca-Cola,
Yeah.
right? Because they don't have the agility, they don't have the processes, the ease of process in place to be able to really leverage this technology right now.
And the relative gains for enterprises are just too small compared to those small, medium-sized companies. Guys, this is absolutely fantastic. I know we've had a discussion before in a podcast before, Duarte. I'm so happy that I've finally been able to see it in action. Luke, thank you very much for the Lucky Saint use case.
Of course.
Alone, let alone that you've been able to dig up all that information without even having an active connection to any of their data. You have a opening to Lucky Saint with such a great use case in helping or showing how DOJO AI could actually help them. I think that part is actually, it's like a little bonus you get with the tool that you can do this market research with. Thank you so much. What can we see in the next kind of 6 to 12 months? Duarte, last question. Again, last question. We're in beta, but anything exciting happening soon?
Next 6 months, it will move from being reactive to being proactive. You will see the tool moving from conversational to having a live dashboard, to having live insights, to having warnings, alerts telling you what to do, and to have a canvas mode to create visual content and then to execute it on your canvas.
You guys are doing amazing work. Keep it up. This is awesome. Yeah. Luke, also thank you very much, and good luck, and enjoy your work at DOJO. I look forward to hearing about you more soon.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Matthew.
Bye.